Good morning, it's Christopher Taylor up on the hill with Sovereign Harmony Astrology. We're going to go over the astrology for the week of July 5th to the 11th. Today is Sunday, July 5th. Hope you're having a great holiday weekend in the US, if you're in the US. 250 years, not a small deal, so pretty cool. Anyway, got a lot of ongoing energies entering this week, and then we've got some new energies coming up later in the week. Things are about to ramp up here in July in general, but we're going to keep it focused on this week. So right now, we're coming off of this Mars in Gemini on Uranus in Gemini, so conjunct Uranus in Gemini, forming a sextile to Neptune in Aries and a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. So these are the three outer planets. Mars is making those aspects to them. So really the big theme for this weekend is flexibility in terms of how we take action. And so we're being asked to try different methods that are more aligned with our future. That's the outer planets, the evolution of society and ourselves within it. Okay, so how do we take action toward things in our life in a different way, in a more flexible way than we would have normally, and that's going to serve us in the future. That's what this Mars, these three aspects from Mars essentially to the outer planets this weekend has been asking us to do. So how have we done that? Have we been more flexible? Have we taken action in different ways that we wouldn't have otherwise, but that does serve us as who we want to be in the future? That's the key. Okay. We also have Jupiter in Leo squaring Chiron and Taurus still. That's going to linger for a few more days into this, mid part of this week. And so that is, asking us to grow in our confidence, grow in our expression while facing those perceived limits in terms of our worthiness. Okay, we are worthy to grow. We are worthy to expand more, express more. Okay, and this aspect here is just showing us where our limits are, where we put limits on ourselves so that they can be released. Okay, we also have Chiron, that same Chiron, in Taurus that is forming aspects to the moon's nodes. It's a sextile to the north node in Pisces and a trine to the south node in Virgo. That's with us the whole month. Okay, so Chiron aspecting the moon's nodes with us the whole month. And it's really about healing any wounds associated with possessiveness and possession. Okay, so it's allowing us to let go and trust. That's the point of this transit throughout the month of July. Things are happening this month that force us into faith mode, trust mode. Okay, and so we have to let go. We can't cling on to things that we would normally cling on to, situations, people, etc. Okay, so it's just teaching us that. All right. Then, as we move through this week, Neptune is going to turn retrograde in Aries. So if you remember, Saturn, Neptune joined at 0 degrees Aries in late February. That sets off like the anchor point for this new paradigm of energy. Okay, now Neptune's turning retrograde. In a couple of weeks, Saturn's going to turn retrograde in Aries as well. So they've gone as far as they can. Now it's time to kind of digest what we've moved through in terms of that leap into the new paradigm energy. Okay, but there's a respite happening here with Neptune turning retrograde. Okay, then we also have Venus entering Virgo. End of this week around the 10th, 11th, something like that. And when it does so, we go back to this whole Chiron aspect in the moon's nodes. So when Venus enters Virgo, it's going to hit the south node of the moon, and it's going to trine that Chiron in Taurus. So that amplifies more, puts more emphasis on this idea of control at Virgo and possession, Taurus. Okay, so it's a healing point, a point of healing at the end of this week, where things in life are going to happen. They're going to pop up. They're going to remind us of what we tend to want to take control of. Okay, and this is a lesson that says, hey, this is where we can let go. We don't have to possess this. We don't have to control this scenario or whatever. Okay, letting it go, putting it into faith. What's also interesting too is we have the Sun. I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday, will square Saturn. So Sun in Cancer, squaring Saturn in Aries. That's a precursor to next week's new moon in Cancer that will still be an orb to that square to Saturn in Aries. Okay, and so we're being prepared for that new moon, because a lot of what this new moon is about taking responsibility for our feelings. Feelings are meant to be felt and experienced, not controlled and contained. Okay, and so this Sun Saturn square that's going to, again, with us this whole week into the new moon of next week. Next week's new moon, the theme is going to be about taking responsibility for what we feel. Okay, and so we can't just push our feelings away and ignore them. We've got to process them. We've got to move them through us. And there's different ways to do that. Like I sing a lot. Singing is a great way to process emotions. okay? That's a method, it's a tool, okay? But if we're not using tools to process our emotions, that gets us in the end. That leads to health problems, okay? And so this Saturn Sun square, that again will be part of the new moon next week, is very much about feelings, getting deep into those feelings. Mercury's still retrograde in Cancer, and that'll be part of that new moon as well, is digging deep and saying, hey, what needs to be processed, and taking responsibility for that. That's Saturn in Aries, okay? And that's not easy. It's not easy. That's the square aspect of it, okay? It's a challenge, but it is our responsibility to do it. No one can process our emotions for us. And so that's going to be the key theme for the new moon next week. But again, going back to this week, again, end of the week, healing opportunity when it comes to possessiveness, control. Where can we let go? Where can we trust? Where can we have faith? That's huge this week. And it's coming off of the heels of this Jupiter square Chiron, which is all about our expression, again, and seeing our limits that we've set in terms of our worthiness of our full expression. And so maybe we've come to a point of confidence and we've widened our sphere of acceptability in terms of our worthiness, that we can now accept the feelings that come with that are authentic to us, and accept the idea that, hey, we don't have to keep things under control or possess situations in certain ways in order for them to feel safe. We can let them go. We can take our hands out of it and let them go. So we're going to leave it there. Keep it short today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please comment below. If you're looking for a personal reading, we can see where all this fits in your chart. Otherwise, we'll see you next week, and feel free to follow me, get more updates throughout the week. Take care.